Good morning. This is News with a View, April 24th, 2025. Your host, John A. Costa. And this is episode 57. We have a lot to cover today as far as commentary and news and, of course, my opinion, which is always the best opinion. I'm just saying that. A lot in the news, and a lot of things floating around underneath the radar that's going to affect or could affect have a chain reaction. Well, the first thing I'm going to talk about today is, of course, the Garcia saga continues. And, of course, we all know Garcia Kilmore is an El Salvadorian citizen who was deported by the Trump administration for violation of the Alien Enemies Act because of his reported belonging to an MS-13 gang. Now, what's coming out more, and this has been out there, and this isn't anything new, was that in I think it was 2021, he was pulled over with 8 other individuals in a car where they had said they had left the Houston, Texas area and were heading to St. Louis. They were heading to Maryland via St. Louis. Yeah, okay. And the car that Garcia was using was a car that was owned by a known human trafficker. Now, they weren't, when we say human trafficker, it doesn't mean like they're bringing women or anything like that. This was just taking illegals who crossed over from Mexico into the United States and then delivering them. Now, the MS-13 controls that. I'm sorry, that's just the way it is. You don't like it? Tough. That's the proof. So that's what's going on there. I'm going to switch over to my favorite camera. So this guy was pulled over by Highway Patrol while driving, and this has been shown to multiple sources. But again, and I stress this, and I am a super believer that just because you're pulled over and just because they suspect, well, that's not good enough reason, to me, to arrest someone or to use that now in a proceeding. Now, the Alien Enemies Act does not provide an avenue to counter or use due process. It does not. And you don't need a war to be declared for the president to use his authority to enact it or evoke it. That is strictly up to the president. Again, you don't like it, tough. Them's are the rules, and that's the way this works. So the SUV that he was pulled over was owned by some guy like Jose Ramirez or Hernandez Reyes, who was another illegal alien, and then who in 2020 he confessed to human smuggling across the U.S. Mexico border. So, old habits die hard. Then the trooper noticed that there were 8 people in the car, and again, as reported, but all the signs were there, and for whatever the reason was, the trooper did not want to escalate this matter. Now, at that time, I will say that you had a Department of Justice that would not have supported the trooper. You had people screaming to defund all this, and he just wasn't going to get in the mix. He just wasn't going to get these guys. Okay, they're illegals. They're smuggling people. They didn't seem dangerous. They weren't carrying drugs that they know of. They weren't carrying weapons that they knew of. And they just let them proceed. But this story just keeps getting better every day because more and more facts are coming out. And as I said, this is a story that I said in past podcasts when this all came up, that the Democrats will go down in flames. They're doing it right now, and it's going to happen in the midterms. I could just see the commercials. I could just see the commercials for, a person running on a GOP ticket that then uses this, and they will use it, and they should use it. It's there. It's there. They'll have Trump doing his stuff, and they'll have whoever is supporting him. So the idea of this individual getting due process, and I think what has to happen is the Supreme Court has to say, hey, the Alien Enemy Act doesn't provide for that, and the president can invoke it and has. And he's only using this against MS-13 members and some other groups that are gang members that are here to form gangs and to hurt all people, documented, undocumented, citizens, businesses, foreign guests. So I think that Trump is going to be on good legal standing to do this. And I understand where people are saying, hey, he can grab anyone then and say you're a gang member and you do not have you don't have the power to fight it. You just don't. And I could understand where people are concerned with that. But this wouldn't happen to you or I if we're white or black and we're, American. We have birth certificates. We were, and again, you can say, well, you weren't born here, but you can prove that you're a citizen. And if you're a citizen, then your due process rights kick in. You might be held 9 days. It could happen. And you could be subject to being detained, and that has happened and will happen. But you get to prove, you get your due process. Now, a lot of people don't realize that 100 miles around the border of the United States, all the borders, anywhere, Florida, South Carolina, any place is a border. And the ocean is a border. So any place on the East Coast, the Canadian side, the Pacific side, and the Mexican side, the Gulf of America side. 100 miles inland from that border, the immigration can stop anyone, and demand ID, search you, search your cell phone with no warrant needed. Did you know that? See, knowing what your rights are is important, but in those cases, your Fourth and Fifth Amendment rights might not be in play. There is vetted law on that, and that's a good topic. I'm going to bring that up. I did that in, I think, episode 15, where I spoke about that. And I'll go back. I'm going to revisit that just to shove it in. Maybe that's a good thing for tomorrow, Fridays. Now, the Trump administration is acknowledging it has deported 4 non-citizens to El Salvador, despite a court order barring the removal of people to countries other than their place of origin without an opportunity to raise concerns about their safety. So, what is saying in a series of court filings overnight, Justice Department lawyers argued that the court order was not violated because the removal of 4 alleged members of a Venezuelan gang, Tren de Arguria, I forget, I murder these groups, was carried out by the Department of Defense, not the Department of Homeland Security, which is the defendant in the lawsuit saying, stop, you can't do it. Now, I will say this. The courts really get pissed off when people try to get cute with their ruling and with their orders, and they think they're smarter than the judges. Now, they may be smarter than the judges, but the judge is the judge. And if I was the judge and someone started playing games like that with me, I would then dig into every law book I could have my court assistants go through to see if they violated my court order and it was done intentionally, because that changes everything. Not a good idea to play games like that. Now, they might be able to do that, but a judge, and I don't care if they're a Democratic judge or a Republican judge, a liberal judge, a conservative judge, I don't care. Judges are lawyers, And lawyers hate to be out-lawyered. They just hate that. And I would say that this action, and it's Judge Brian Murphy, is not going to be very sympathetic to the government. Of them going, oh yeah, I know, you said I couldn't enter the room through the door, but you never mentioned the window. So we went in through the window. Oh, you mentioned the window? Then we chopped a hole in the roof. Oh, that door? That window? No, we made a new door, and we put in a new window. So that wasn't part of your scope of your order. They hate that. And for that, you must pay. So I don't think that was a very wise move. And the judge and people who are fighting the government on this. And the judge isn't fighting the government on this. The judge is just applying the law as they see it. So what will happen is that the judges will now all lock arms together. And this will be bad. This will be a bad, bad thing for the Department of Justice, for the Department of Defense, Department of Homeland Security. And I don't think that was a wise move, because the courts will say, well, you already had these people in custody. They were now no longer a threat that you claim that they are. And since they have not been charged or gone through the due process, but they have been detained, and this is all going through the courts, if we ruled in your favor, boom, they're gone in an hour. But if you circumvent us and play games, well, we can play games too. And my games have really, really horrendous penalties for not playing that game correctly. So, I would advise the government to proceed cautiously with this. You already have these people in detention. You already have these elements outside. It's going through the courts. If the court is so, and I realize they have to wait for courts to go yay or nay for the next step for these people to complain and go up the ladder, be it the government or be it, a group of people. If this judge, if Judge Murphy then turns around and sides with the government and go, yeah, they can go, this group can then go, well, we're going to appeal that. We're going to take that to the Supreme Court, or we're going to take that up to a federal district, and they start going up. But in the meantime, unless they get a restraining order from the court saying, all right, they want to take this up to the next level, you can't do anything. But in the meantime, if that is not filed, those people go. That's it. You said I'm done here. Boom. They'll push a button. Those wheels will be up. but you know the other side's going to be immediately to follow. We want a restraining order, and they'll go back and forth. And once that plane is, 30 miles off the coast, they ain't coming back. Now that's what the government has done in the past. So we know how the government acts. So even if the Trump administration wins this in this argument with in this U.S. district judge in his jurisdiction, which is absolutely ridiculous that they get to interfere with the executive branch, but that's an argument for another day. These people won't be going anywhere. Unless they're at the border, like of Mexico, and these are Mexicans, and they can just get them across in 15 minutes. That's it. And the court really can't tell the government, well, you got to wait, or we got to see what happens. No, it doesn't work that way. You don't have to wait for the dust to settle. I won the case. Adios. Vamonos. You're out of here. And that's the way that goes. So, now the idea about using their safety before they deported to a so-called third country, that is not on their order of removal or their country of origin. So, if Trump wanted to, they could have taken them to Venezuela and said, these are your problems. Now, Venezuela could deny that aircraft coming into their airspace, and then what do you do? So, I mean, we can't force our laws on a sovereign nation. You have everyone screaming about due process. Well, those countries have due processes too. You might not agree with them, but they have their due process, and whatever that is. And we can't control that. We'd like to, and we wish we could, but we can't. So that is that. The saga will continue, and you'll have these Democrats, crying alligator tears over their due process rights. And all that is being dug up is all the time the Democrats threw due process out for other people and just, no, we can do this. And that's the problem. That's the problem that politicians have. People have long memories. People have long memories. And a lot of these acts and a lot of these things that are going on, they have their place in history. The Alien Enemies Act, 1798, and really never tweaked up since that time. The 1934 Reciprocal Trade Act, allowing a president to set tariffs and negotiate trade. 1934. There was a law in 1930, some Suter or Sutter, something, which gave the president like 3 years to do stuff, and then that went away, and then the Democrats pushed through the trade law. I talked about that in yesterday's and the day before that episode. So I have all that, and I'm going to put all this stuff in order. Maybe that's tomorrow. And if I can get Alice Incognito to come to that show. If I can pull her away, we'll do that. I'll get everything set up, and we can have a shouting match. All right. We're going to move on. I don't want this to go more than an hour today, and I'm already about 30 minutes into this thing. The United States Senate and House race is coming up in 2026. The interesting thing about that race, or one of the races, is the Senate. 1/3 of the seats are up for grab. 1/3. Now, there could be special elections held to fill seats if something happens, and that can always change. So you're going to have 33 elections, scheduled elections in 2026. 13 seats are held by the Democrats and 20 are held by Republicans. This is the Senate. And that's 1/3 of the Senate is up for election. And that's as of today. Probably as of March, whatever. And 4 senators have announced that they will not seek re-election. And you'd think I'd have those senators' names down. Well, Durkin is one of them. But it's 4 Democrats and 1 Republican will not seek re-election in the Senate in the midterms. So, 5 Republicans and 1 Democrat in the House will not seek re-election in Congress. So, of the 33 states holding regularly scheduled elections in 2026, President Donald Trump won 21 of those states in his election. And Kamala Harris won 12 of those states. So in 12 of those things, 12 of those states, you're going to have 21 of those candidates had the vote went Republican. Georgia and Michigan Republicans will be defending 1 seat in each state Harris won. And the Republicans will be defending 1 seat in a state Harris won, and that's Maine. Remember that one independent guy. Maine's a funny state when it comes to voting, too. I think that, of course, we're so far out. But if it was held today, Democrats would not fare well. In some states. Some states are so blue, they'll always be blue. And some states were red, and they're going to stay red for a long time. So, and that's understandable. You're not going to change much. Now, New York is going to be real interesting, like for the governor race. Because the last time, she only won by percentage points. And 4 or 5 percentage points. And I think this election, she don't stand a chance. Letitia James, which I did not do much about, again, is defending herself against charges, pending charges. I wouldn't say she has not been charged, on fraud in her application for a loan through the federal program. Now, there's a lot that I hear people talking about insurance fraud and things, There's no charges placed against her yet. So as such, she can say whatever she likes to say about this matter. She can get up on every news channel that will have her and says this is a witch hunt. This is, retribution, political retribution, which she should know all about. So this is going to be an interesting turn of events. And that's what's going on with possible elections. And as we get closer to the midterms, I'm assuming that you'll have 3 or 4 other candidates from either side bowing out. So this midterm is going to be interesting. And my prediction is as of today, using today as my basis, I would say that the Republicans will hold everything, if not grab more. Now, if that is the case, then Democrats, you'd be in a heap of trouble. If you can't get one of these houses back, you're going to be in a heap of trouble. You can have all the governors you want in states. And governors are hardly ever concerned federal-wise, except when they want to run for president or whatever. All right, Democrats, I keep warning you, I keep telling you what you must do to survive. I have thrown you a life ring into the water, and you swim away from it. And that life ring is get on board with Trump. If you can't steer the bus, at least have the driver's ear. Because if you're sitting in the back, he ain't hearing you. And the closer you get up front, the more he can hear you. Get on board with the president. It is your only chance. And if you don't, you've been warned. All right, let's go on to the U.S. markets. We've seen the markets doing a slight recovery. Again, yesterday I reported the markets are down 14%. Today they were rising up a bit, not much, but at least they're in the green. I think a lot had to do with President Trump, backing off on his attack on Jerome Powell. You gotta really be careful. Trump has to really be careful. I got something on my glasses here that's just really annoying me. Probably more of my hair falling off. I understand what Trump wants to do, and Powell understands what he wants to do. And Powell's thing is just not, the timing is just not there to do it. That you might have a little kick lowering interest rates and doing that, but if we're in a trade war, and a tariff war, you might want to just sit back and take care of one problem at a time. And it's good advice. It's good advice. So I think President Trump started listening to people to go, hey, one of the, it's not going to be for any of us, but one of the silver linings to keeping Powell where he is and Trump not firing him, which he really can't do unless he can prove that he's ineffective. Is that he gets to blame Powell. Hey, I wanted to go this way. Everyone stopped me. I got so much grief from the other guys. They were taking me to court. They were doing this. They were doing that. I wanted to do this. And all I know is I couldn't. So now this happened because I couldn't do that. And we'll never know what would have happened because you didn't let me do it. So the silver lining could be that, hey, if everything goes sideways with what Trump's doing, he could go, that guy. Now, I will say this. I don't believe that. Because I will go back to who put this in motion. And there are people smarter than me. I know that's hard to believe. I know, Bob, you're shaking your head going, no, this can't be true. Say it ain't so. But there are people smarter than me who will bring this all up and go, whoa. This ain't the chicken and the egg. We know what started. So you can scream all you want about Powell. But, you know, we had grown from June of last year to the beginning of April. Just using the S&P, because I like going to the S&P. 750 points. 14%. We went up that much. So, you know, you can't point to a condition that we were hurting. Now, if you do the math and you start breaking things down, yeah, we were hurting bad. But the market wasn't, because the market is controlled. It's, you know, institutional trading, and moms and pops have very little to do with that trading. So, I think the market might get hurt tomorrow. And again, this is just me speaking. I'm not giving any financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, nor am I giving you financial advice. Let's get that out there right now. But with China now saying, hey, you know, your president saying we're working on a deal, we're not doing squat. There's no high level talk. There's no low level talk. Now, how much I believe from China, because see, separately, there's other factors in China, and I said this before in my other one. China, you know, you hear people saying we'll never win against China. China, you know, is just too strong. It's just they're too big to fail. I don't want to put that there. And that's not true. They can put up a bold face and they can say whatever they want to say because there is no one there to say otherwise. It's not like here with leaks and everything else. and an open press. You're not finding that over there. So when they go, we're not talking. Okay, you have to take them at their word. I wouldn't. I wouldn't take China at their word. I wouldn't take Russia at their word. I wouldn't take Iran or Pakistan at their word. I would take India at their word. The UK, even though they're not our friend, I would take them at their word. I would take Canada at their word. But you have China's central bank governor warned that global tensions could lead to high friction and low trust, and he's urging stronger international cooperation as U.S.-China talks remain stalled despite Trump's softer rhetoric on tariffs. So, where the chairman of China is saying, nope. The central bank governor, who controls the purse strings, I mean, really over there, it's the top echelon. The central party controls everything, and that's the way it works. Is saying, hey, if these banks start having a problem, we're not going to have trust in it, and we all lose our phony baloney jobs. So we got to act very cautiously, and not blind one another. So I am under the impression that in the guise of trade talking, they're having some other ministers going out there and plowing the field for some type of talk. And I think you'll have a surprise. Trump will get in on an airplane and he'll show up in Beijing. And, he'll go, hey, this nonsense has to end. Come on. I need a deal, and you need a deal, and all your people need to be working. We need stuff. We're going to fix this. We're going to do this. But, you see how upset we are. And you've seen what has happened. He could do that. He could do that and save face. The big picture that no one's seeing what's going on right now. And we must be very, very careful. And this is what the China's central bank governor Gang Sheng warned about global tensions. A fight between India and Pakistan. Now, who's buying all Russian oil? India. Lots of money, lots of things, lots of moving parts. India and Pakistan are the two nations where Russia, China, England, Australia, Canada, France, all say that can be a flashpoint of a uncontained nuclear war. And when I say uncontained, it just won't be, a bomb hitting a military zoned area. This will be, and we're going to take out major cities. And that puts China on edge because That's right on their border. That puts Russia on edge because that's the people buying our oil. It can get very bad very quickly. And there isn't, see, political rhetoric, China understands that. Russia understands that. United States, England, Germany, we all understand political rhetoric. But when you have racial and religious rhetoric, yeah, that can end up very, very bad. And India and Pakistan have fought some of the most heinous unrest between Hindu and Muslim in our recent history. It's, and it's not ancient history either. The idea of, and that's my second topic, was, India is blaming Pakistan for the deadly attack on tourists in Kashmir that killed 26 people. And remember, Pakistan was founded in Bangladesh later on, and stuff were all part of India. And part of the deal for India not staying neutral during World War II, or even joining the Japanese, which they would never do, but they would just have stayed neutral. And you wouldn't be able to use India as a staging point or use Indian forces to take on Japan. The British said, if you don't fight with us, England, if you don't do this and you help us, we will give you India and you can make your own nation. And that was done after the war. And then the problem with the Hindu and Muslim population, the Muslims wanted their own territory, and they fought and they fought and they fought. I mean, you're talking tens of thousands of people killed, maybe in the hundreds of thousands. No one ever knew. There was no way. No one was counting. But it was, axes and picks going at one another. And this was men, women, children, did not matter. And so finally, in 1947, and I think is when Pakistan said, all right, you go now. And the big upheaval that the people that were in that region that were Hindu had to get out of there because this was all going to be Muslim only. And then India said, well, take all your Muslims and get out of here. And there were plenty of Muslims that said, I don't want to leave India. I have nothing to do with that. Those people are crazy. I don't want to go there. And so they also had a large Muslim population that stayed in India. They said, we're not Pakistani, we're Indian. We don't have a dog in this fight. And India and Pakistan have been, fighting. And then I think in 1971, they had a real knockdown, drag-out fight. And that was, of course, over, Tibet and what is, China, what is not, what is Indian, and Kashmir, and all this fighting, over this territory that is rich with minerals and oil and good stuff that both sides wanted. Both sides wanted. And if they really cared, they'd just say, "We'll make this an independent nation." And but they didn't. They wanted it. They still want it. India's Prime Minister Modi on Thursday accused Pakistan of aiding the TRF, which is the resistance front, and that is a pre-Tibet, the whole thing, and they're revolutionary people, and Modi has said that now that they're going to go after the people that carried out this terrorist attack, and they're going to go after the people that assisted them in any manner. And they're saying the Pakistani secret police, allowed this to happen, and they're going to go after Pakistan. Now, Pakistan is more than capable of defending itself. But India has a much more capable military. The technology that the Indian military has is superior to just about anything Pakistan has. And for that matter, honestly, except in ballistic missiles, probably probably China. Very capable military in India. A kind of fragmented military in Pakistan. You never know who to trust there. You just don't know who to trust. That's why it would go from a conventional war, because India would crush, my belief is India would crush Pakistan. And Pakistan won't let that happen. And I don't think India would use nuclear weapons first. I don't think that would happen. I think Pakistan would. And I think probably more than likely, if this were to start really turning red hot and going from red hot to white hot, you would see a team of Chinese decapitation forces start securing these nuclear bases and things like that. And China would step in. Because the last thing they want is one of these missiles going sideways, and they're going to have to live in that dust cloud. And you will have specially trained decapitation units. We have them. And they're not SEAL Team 6. These are, you don't even know who these people are. That their job is just to go in there and secure these facilities. And honestly, all you need to do is put one high-powered rifle shot through the body of one of these missiles. It's not going to blow up, but they're just not capable of flying then. So they just sit there, nice shiny object. So you don't have to go in there and like you see in the movie, they're taking the fuse apart and cut the blue wire. They don't do that. They'll just take a weapon, shoot it through it. And if it blows, it might, the fuel might ignite or anything, but you're not going to have a detonating. At least you hope not, but, most of them have super safety devices in them to prevent that. And that's why I always laughed at that one movie, I think it was called Twilight's Last Gleaming, with Burt Lancaster. He's in there and he's going to shoot off, start a nuclear war because he wanted the truth about Vietnam to come out, and it was all this stuff. And you see, everyone's looking at the silo, and they're, all they would do is take one Cobra gunship, and as that missile's coming out of the thing, just blast away on it. Blast away on it. And, it isn't like, and it takes off. Now, some of ours, you might have a hard time. But even if that was the case, you drop a Jeep over the top of the silo hole. Done. That missile's not going to go through that Jeep, believe me. So it's comical, because all you need to do to disable a nuclear missile is disable the propulsion system, and you can do that to shoot a round through it. You're going to hit something vital. And you could put rounds through it that are non-exploding rounds, and they just go through, and you hope you don't dead anything or set anything off. And even solid fuel rockets that don't use a conventional propulsion system, you compromise that, and that thing ain't flying. That thing will spin like a top and go right down. So the amount of pressure coming out those side walls. So this is where it could get very dicey. Because if, let's say, and I'm talking, worst case situation, the Chinese were to come in and do this, and they don't secure every one of them, and they go, what, China now? Send one eastbound. Send one eastbound. Send it to Beijing. Send it to Shanghai. Send it to one of their big industrial zones. And that could happen. But again, I would trust India 100 times more than I would trust Pakistan. And Pakistan cannot be trusted. China's not going to set off any nuclear weapons on anyone. They're not going to start a war. They're not afraid to fight a war. If you were to start with them, they're certainly not afraid to fight a war. But to start a war? No. I trust China. I trust India not to do anything crazy. Even Iran, Iran would know that, you do anything like that they're out of the game. They're out of the game. And even if their government falls, the military, you still need a military. We saw what happened, when you destroy a military and disband it, and then you have to try to rebuild it, and you don't know who your friends are, where you could have had deals with generals beforehand. Hey, you stay intact over there. Stand down. Stand down. We're going to win. But you stand down over there. This country is going to need leaders and going to need military people. Stand down and we'll talk. And that's really what you need to do. But in Pakistan, there'll be, but I don't even think they're that good of fighters. I think, again, the loyalty issue over there, and I just don't see it. It's so corrupt. Pakistan is so corrupt. Each little nest of rats. And you don't have that in the same type of situation in India. It's a much more disciplined military, much more educated military and people. And yeah, there's poor there, and there's uneducated, and there's a caste system there. I get it. But for the most part, their military they're experts. So, you have Pakistan, vehemently denying that they had any part of this. And I'm just going to say this: nothing happens over there in their controlled sector, in their border thing, without Pakistan knowing. So, don't trust them. And so that's what's going on today. I think the India-Pakistan possible conflict can definitely affect world markets and make people sit back and pull back a second and go, ooh, let's not, let's stop that now before it gets real bad. And I don't think they'll be able to stop India. I think India is, they couldn't stop us on 9/11. And, so, and I'm not, listen, this could be India screaming, this is our 9/11. Though they had one where the Pakistan sent, definitely was through the Pakistan intelligence, went into India and shot up the hotel and killed the Jews there and did a whole bunch of things. And we're getting actual instructions from the Pakistan secret police on how to do it and where to go through the buildings and stuff. So this is, I don't trust Pakistan. Not at all. And if that turns into some type of real shooting match, you're going to see everyone, the tariffs are going to just seem like, that's not even important. So, all right. With that, I'm going to say to everyone, say a prayer, because right now we need it. The tariffs things will fix themselves. A knockdown, drag-out fight between India and Pakistan, that's not good for any of us here. Not good for any of us. Say a prayer. Help people. Give to a food bank. If you can give money to a reputable charity that you pick out. They don't come to you. You pick out. Don't be a victim. Helping a victim. And with that, I'm going to end episode 57 and have this up sometime today. I don't know what time, but it'll be better than yesterday. I forgot. I must put it up at about 11 p.m. Because I thought I pushed the button to say upload. I did not. Though we had really bad thunderstorms here. And I think I got up from there saying, let me just put the computer into pause and make sure all my UPS, my up supplies were all connected to where they should be in case we lose power. I don't lose my show, which I do now have. But with that, I'm going to say good night. So stop. Good night, Rowan. Good night, Chris, Danielle, Paul, Cannoli. It's another story. All right, with that, I fade to black.